Place 1. The chaotic and empty crowd. They don't know why, but when the chosen ones walk into certain places, their soul begins to suffocate. And so, without excuse or explanation, they leave. There is a rare kind of person in this world. Someone whose instincts speak louder than the crowd. Welcome to Chill Then Conquer. While most people are pulled in by flashing lights, loud music, and the pulse of hundreds of strangers moving in unison, the chosen one feels something entirely different. An invisible tension pressing down on their chest, whispering one simple command: leave. You see, most people judge a place by its appearance. If it's crowded, they assume it must be popular. If it's noisy, they assume it must be alive. If it's full of laughter, they assume it must be joyful. But the chosen ones know better. They sense what lies beneath the surface. They feel the emptiness in the noise. They hear the loneliness behind the laughter. And they see, often before anyone else, that some crowds are not alive. They are simply afraid of being alone. The illusion of the crowd. The chaotic crowd is seductive. It promises belonging. It promises energy. It promises you won't have to face your own thoughts. But what it actually delivers is distraction. It keeps you from hearing your inner voice. It drains you little by little until you no longer know what you truly want. Most people don't notice this. They think being in the middle of noise means they're part of something great. But for the chosen, the truth is obvious. In these places, your spirit begins to fragment. Why? Because the energy in the room is not focused. It's scattered. Everyone is pulling in different directions, talking over each other, chasing their own momentary pleasures. And when energy is scattered, your own energy has to work twice as hard just to survive. The instinct to leave. For the chosen, leaving is not arrogance. It's preservation. When they walk into a chaotic and empty crowd, their senses sharpen. They notice the glazed eyes behind forced smiles. They feel the undercurrent of desperation in the laughter. They pick up the silent anxiety that hums beneath the noise, as if the entire room is afraid of silence. They realize that staying here means surrendering their clarity, their presence, their calm. So they walk away. Not because they think they're better, but because they know their inner peace is too precious to gamble with. Noise versus life. Not all noise is life. Some noise is a cover. Some celebrations are not joy. They're escape routes from pain. And when you have trained yourself to hear the truth beneath appearances, you cannot unhear it. The chosen know that life isn't measured in how many voices are around you, but in how alive your own voice feels inside you. That is why they prefer a single deep conversation to 100 shallow exchanges. They choose stillness over chaos, depth over display. The hidden cost of staying. For most people, staying in such places seems harmless. It's just a night out, they say. It's just fun. But for the chosen, it's different. They know that energy is currency. Every moment you spend in a place that drains you is a moment you don't get back. Stay too long and you begin to absorb the crowd's confusion. You start speaking without thinking, laughing without meaning, chasing without purpose. And the most dangerous part? You don't even realize it's happening until you feel empty when you're finally alone. The discipline to walk away. Walking away is not easy. The crowd makes you feel wanted. It gives you a temporary sense of belonging. It distracts you from the silence you might have to face. But chosen ones are different. They have trained themselves to be at home in the silence. They don't need the crowd to feel real. They don't need the noise to feel alive. And because of this, they have the strength to stand, take one last look, and leave without explanation. Not to punish the crowd, but to protect their soul. What they choose instead. When they leave the chaotic and empty crowd, they often choose places that nourish them instead. A quiet room where they can think clearly. The company of a few people whose words are sharp with truth. the stillness of nature where every sound has meaning. They understand something most people miss. The world is loud, but wisdom speaks softly. If you cannot step away from the noise, you will never hear it. The final lesson. The chaotic and empty crowd is everywhere. It's at the parties where no one listens but everyone talks. It's in the online spaces where people shout opinions but never seek truth. It's in the gatherings where the goal is not connection, but distraction. The chosen don't hate these places, they simply don't belong there. Their place is where energy flows with purpose, where presence is respected, where silence is not feared. And so they move on, without regret, without apology, because they know deep in their bones that not every full room is worth entering, and not every cheer is worth joining. Some crowds are storms, and the chosen ones were born to walk above the waves. Place 2. The table of small minds. There is a certain heaviness you feel when you sit at the wrong table. Not because the chairs are uncomfortable, not because the food is lacking, but because the air itself feels stale, stagnant, polluted by the smallness of those who sit there. The chosen know this feeling well. They can be surrounded by laughter, by clinking glasses, by easy jokes and quick stories, and still, a part of them is not there, because their mind is already out the door. Their spirit is restless, their vision too large to be contained by this circle of comfortable mediocrity. Small minds talk about people. Great minds talk about visions, possibilities, truths that have yet to be born. When you are chosen, you do not belong at the table where gossip replaces wisdom, where mockery replaces curiosity, where fear of change outweighs hunger for progress. The chosen understand that proximity is power, but only if the proximity is to those whose fire burns as fiercely as their own. And so, they begin to drift. Not suddenly, not rudely, but inevitably. It starts with silence. When the conversation dips into judgment and petty observation, they no longer offer fuel. They sit quietly, not agreeing, not disagreeing, simply refusing to add their breath to a dying flame. Then, without anyone truly noticing, they begin to miss a few meetings, decline a few invitations. Their absence is felt, but not enough for the table to change. Because the truth is, this table does not want to change. It wants to stay exactly as it is, endlessly chewing on the same tired stories. The chosen have no time for that. They are building something too vast, too alive, to waste hours feeding the hunger of those who live only to taste the failures of others. And here's the truth most will never admit. Every table you sit at shapes your destiny. Every conversation plants a seed. And if you sit long enough in the shade of small minds, you will start to shrink too. The chosen sense this danger instinctively. They know that while they can love everyone, they cannot align with everyone. Their loyalty belongs to growth, to vision, to purpose, not to circles that have forgotten how to move forward. So they leave the table. Not to isolate themselves, not to prove they are better, but to protect the light they carry. And here is where the unseen test comes. When you leave, they will talk. They will twist your absence into arrogance. They will call you selfish, distant, ungrateful. But the chosen have already accepted that being misunderstood is the price of being faithful to their calling. They will trade the comfort of fitting in for the discomfort of standing alone, because they know it is from that loneliness that their true allies will emerge. In time, they will find a new table. One where ideas are weapons, where dreams are maps, where each seat is a throne for a warrior of vision. And when they find it, they will recognize it instantly, not by the noise, but by the shared silence of understanding. If you are reading this and feeling that restless pull in your spirit, listen to it. That is your compass. That is the whisper of your own higher path, telling you that the table you sit at may not be worthy of the destiny you are carrying. Do not linger out of politeness. Do not starve your soul to feed another's comfort. The chosen do not apologize for seeking higher ground. They climb, and they keep climbing until they find those who climb with them. Because in the end, your life is the sum of the tables you've chosen to sit at, and the chosen never forget. They were never born to eat from the scraps of small minds. They were born to feast with kings of vision. Stay with me, because in the next part, we will step into the third place the chosen avoid at all costs. And it is not a location you walk into. It's a trap you can live inside without even knowing it. If you've journeyed with us this far, then a quiet gesture of support, a like, speaks louder than words. Place 3. The room where gossip reigns. There is a certain staleness in the air when you enter a room where gossip has taken root. You can feel it before you even sit down. The way voices drop just enough to signal secrecy, but rise just enough so the target can hear the echo of their name. The sideways glances, the smirks disguised as smiles, the laughter that isn't joy but rather the thrill of tearing someone apart without their presence to defend themselves. The chosen know this smell because gossip has a scent, and it's not unlike decay. It is the slow rotting of integrity, the invisible erosion of trust. And for those who live with purpose, it is poison. The ordinary mind indulges gossip for a simple reason. It feels powerful to know what others do not. It offers the illusion of control, the illusion of superiority. It is the cheapest form of self-importance, raising yourself not by climbing, but by pulling others down. It costs nothing but your dignity, and to most, that is a price they are willing to pay. But the chosen understand that every word you speak shapes you, that each syllable can either forge steel within you or drain it from your bones. They see gossip for what it truly is, not just a petty exchange of words, but an agreement to join in spiritual vandalism. To speak against someone is to stain your own mouth. To listen in silence is to give silent consent. The chosen don't simply avoid gossip because it is wrong. They avoid it because they are builders, and builders cannot waste their hands tearing apart another's work. They know that to speak of someone without the courage to face them is to reveal weakness, and weakness to them is a luxury they will not afford themselves. Gossip offers no battle worth fighting. It doesn't sharpen the mind. It doesn't strengthen the spirit. It doesn't open the path forward. It only keeps the small locked in their smallness, circling in endless loops of nothing. For the chosen, the refusal to engage is more than a moral stance. It is a declaration of war against mediocrity. They don't just step away from the table when whispers begin. They never sit at it in the first place. Their presence is missed in these rooms, and that absence speaks louder than any rumor. If a chosen ever finds themselves trapped in such a room, they do not fight with words. They fight with silence, the kind of silence that suffocates the petty. A silence that forces the gossiper to face their own echo. Because to battle gossip with more noise is to play its game. And the chosen do not play games designed for the small. Over time, they learn to sense such places before they even enter them. It is not paranoia, but instinct, the same way a soldier can smell an ambush before the first shot. There is an energy in gossip-filled rooms that weighs heavier than stone. The chosen can feel it in their shoulders, in their chest. It is the weight of aimlessness disguised as entertainment. And here is the truth. The people who gossip about others will one day gossip about you. It is not personal. It is their nature. Like a fire, they consume whatever fuel is near. And when you leave the room, they will feed on the next name. Knowing this, the chosen treat such people the way a captain treats a leaking ship. They do not waste time patching what was built to sink. They step off. The chosen do not avoid gossip merely to protect their own name. They avoid it to protect their own mind. They know that thoughts are like seeds, and to allow gossip to plant its roots is to invite a harvest of suspicion, bitterness, and cynicism. They protect their mental soil with a vigilance most will never understand. And so, the chosen keep walking. They walk past the corners where whispers live. They walk past the circles where small minds feed. They walk toward higher ground, where the air is clear, where the only words spoken are those that build, inspire, and sharpen. Because they know this: You cannot breathe deeply in a room full of poison, and you cannot walk the path of the chosen if you linger among those who trade in the downfall of others. In their world, every step away from gossip is a step closer to mastery. Every refusal to engage is a sharpening of the blade. And as the doors of such rooms close behind them, they feel lighter, because they know that the moment you leave the table of whispers, you begin to sit at the table of kings. They do not explain their absence. They do not justify their silence. They simply vanish from the spaces where gossip reigns and appear where vision is born. And in doing so, they mark one more place on the map of the world they will never return to. Place 4. The stage of hollow applause. There is a place where the lights are bright, the music is loud, and the crowd is roaring, but the sound does not reach the soul. This is the stage of hollow applause, where the noise is meant to make you believe you have arrived, but deep inside, you feel only emptiness. Most people chase this place their entire lives. They crave the recognition, the spotlight, the rush of being seen. But the chosen ones, they sense the trap. It is not that they fear attention. It is that they recognize the cost. For in this place, the clapping is not for you. It is for the image of you. The applause is not born from truth, but from performance. And every time you stand here, you must trade a piece of your soul for the sound of hands coming together. The crowd does not love the person behind the mask. They love the mask itself. And if one day you remove it, the noise stops. The chosen learn early that hollow applause is the most dangerous kind of reward. It tricks you into believing you have meaning while slowly draining you of it. It turns creators into puppets, warriors into actors, and visionaries into entertainers. It whispers, "You are enough," only when they approve of you. They know that the stage of hollow applause is addictive. The lights warm your face, the cheers feel like proof. But when the curtain falls and you walk alone down the quiet hallway, you feel the truth pressing in. None of it was real. And that is why they leave before the noise becomes a chain. The chosen ones are not against applause. They simply prefer it from those who have walked the fire with them, from those whose claps carry the weight of understanding, not the emptiness of novelty. They understand that 1,000 strangers cheering means less than one honest voice saying, "I believe in you." They walk away from the stage because they know that when the noise fades, only their work, their discipline, and their truth will remain. And they would rather stand in the shadows with their integrity than in the spotlight with their soul for sale. And so, while the world keeps running toward the blinding lights, they turn away, stepping into the quiet, into the work that no one sees, knowing that one day, when their voice is needed most, they will not be an actor under a mask. They will be the truth itself. The stage will still call to them, tempting them with the sound of validation, but they have already learned, the applause you chase becomes the master you serve, and the chosen ones bow only to truth. The road they walk now is silent, unlit, and unseen. But it is here, away from hollow applause, that the real work is done, the kind that lasts long after the last cheer dies. The next place they avoid is far darker. Not a stage of noise, but a room of whispers where the danger is not in being seen, but in being misunderstood. Place 5. The Temple of False Light. There exists a space meant to uplift, to bring people closer to the divine, to inspire faith and hope. This is the temple, the sacred house where souls are meant to meet the infinite. Yet, for many chosen ones, some of these temples feel hollow, suffocating, or even imprisoning. The reason isn't obvious to those who only see brick and mortar, ritual and tradition. But the chosen ones feel a deeper discord, an energetic dissonance that tells them this place is no longer sacred. It is a prison of false light. The Temple of False Light is not a place of genuine spirit. It is a stage of performance, a chamber of judgment, a fortress of dogma. Instead of freedom, it offers control. Instead of connection, it demands conformity. The walls whisper rules that limit the soul's flight. The air thickens with expectations and fear masked as faith. Here, the divine becomes a distant concept rather than a living presence. Chosen ones enter these spaces and feel an immediate misalignment. They do not reject the idea of worship or reverence. They carry the flame of sacredness deep within. But when the temple insists on superficial piety, rigid doctrines, and exclusion disguised as purity, their spirit rebels. They recognize that true spirituality is never forced or confined. The false light dims the vibrant flame of the soul, trading the radiant glow of authenticity for the flickering shadow of ritual. It binds with the chains of should and must, silencing questions, curiosity, and doubt, all vital aspects of spiritual growth. For the chosen ones, this is unbearable. They sense that the temple is no longer a sanctuary, but a cage. In this place, love is conditional, forgiveness is earned, and grace is rationed. The chosen ones know that the divine never demands loyalty to an institution over loyalty to truth. They see how the energy becomes stagnant, suffocating, and even toxic, hiding behind smiles and hymnals, but alive in whispered judgments and invisible walls. Instead of staying, they quietly leave, not with rebellion, but with a solemn understanding. They seek spiritual homes where the sacred is alive, where spirit flows freely like a river, not trapped behind stone walls. Their worship is found in nature's silence, in moments of deep meditation, and in authentic connection with others who honor the vast mystery of the soul. They do not reject religion or faith. They reject the false light that dims the brilliance of the soul. They do not disdain rituals. They simply refuse to trade their spiritual sovereignty for any system that demands it. The chosen ones are the wanderers between worlds, the seekers who honor the divine not because a building tells them to, but because their soul recognizes it. They are loyal not to dogma, but to the living pulse of spirit. And so, when faced with the temple of false light, they do not fight it head-on. They do not rail against tradition. They simply turn their backs and walk toward the places where spirit breathes without constraint, where faith is an experience, not a performance. The sacred cannot be confined by walls, rules, or rituals. The chosen ones know this intuitively. They know that when the temple's light fades into falsehood, it is time to seek a new kind of sanctuary, one built not from stone, but from presence, truth, and freedom. As they leave behind these temples, they carry with them the deep understanding that true worship is not where you bow your head, but where you raise your consciousness. It is not where you follow rules, but where you follow your soul's whisper. And as the chosen ones continue on their path, they prepare to face the next place they instinctively avoid, an environment where words poison more than heal, and silence is the only shield strong enough to protect their spirit. Place 6. The shadows of past trauma. There are places in this world that carry more than just physical walls and familiar sights. They carry echoes, deep, invisible imprints left behind by pain, fear, and unresolved history. For most, these places are just locations on a map, memories that fade with time. But for the chosen ones, these spaces hold a different kind of weight, a psychic gravity that pulls at their very soul. Place 6 is the realm of past trauma, the homes, schools, streets, or buildings where wounds were first inflicted, where the spirit first learned to break. These are places charged with heavy energy, layered with memories that may no longer be conscious, but are undeniably present in the field. Chosen ones feel this energy, not with the mind, but with the body and spirit. Their nervous systems react before their thoughts can catch up. The air feels thicker, the energy colder, the walls closer. A subtle but undeniable warning rises from their core. This is a battlefield already fought. This is a chapter closed. Unlike those who believe healing requires returning to the source of pain, the chosen ones understand something deeper. Healing is not always about reopening old wounds to prove resilience. Sometimes it is about recognizing the limits of what the spirit can endure and choosing not to revisit what has already been conquered. There is wisdom in avoidance, in honoring the soul's journey forward instead of backward. The chosen ones do not run from pain out of weakness. They step away out of strength. They acknowledge that their spirit has outgrown these spaces, that their energy demands freedom rather than confinement. This avoidance is not denial, it is discernment. It is the sacred knowing that some places belong to the past, and that to dwell there is to risk dragging the spirit into cycles that no longer serve growth. In these spaces, old fears and shadows still linger like ghosts. They can weigh down even the strongest heart, cloud the clearest mind, and disrupt the most peaceful spirit. For the chosen ones, stepping into these environments can mean reawakening traumas that the soul has already spent lifetimes healing. And so, the chosen ones learn to protect their field. They honor their boundaries by steering clear of places where the echoes are too loud, where the energy is too heavy, and where the past still pulls like a storm tide.
This is not a path of isolation, but one of sovereignty, choosing peace over pain, presence over history. It is an act of radical self-love, a declaration that the soul's future is more important than the shadows of its past. They create new sanctuaries within themselves and around themselves, spaces of light, renewal, and expansive growth that honor the journey rather than the scars. To walk away from the places of past trauma is to step into a new field of possibility. It is to choose healing that is forward-moving, regenerative, and sovereign. And as the chosen ones embrace this truth, they prepare for the next intuitive avoidance, one that challenges their energy in the chaos of modern life's most overwhelming battlegrounds. Place 7. The frenzied marketplace of desperation. There is a type of place where energy is not just felt, it is fought over. The chaos is palpable, the air thick with urgency, greed, and restlessness. This is the frenetic realm of the marketplace during sales frenzies, Black Friday rushes, and clearance chaos. For most, it is a battlefield of bargains, a rush of adrenaline and competition. For the chosen ones, it is a field of spiritual warfare. Their instinct pulls them away from these arenas where desperation fuels the crowd and frenzy drowns out clarity. The push and pull of impatient bodies, the sharp cries of competitive voices, the relentless chase for more, these vibrations clash violently with the calm, grounded frequency of the chosen. In these places, the energy is fractured, scattered in 1,000 directions, leaving no room for presence or peace. It is a war zone of the spirit, where impulsive desires and unconscious patterns run wild, and the soul's voice is muffled beneath the roar of consumption and chaos. The chosen ones see beyond the surface illusion of excitement. They feel the deep disconnection, the way frantic buying reflects a desperate attempt to fill an emptiness that cannot be bought or sold. They know that this frenzy is a mirror of collective longing and spiritual starvation. Their wisdom guides them to seek simplicity, intentionality, and peace. Instead of chasing fleeting discounts, they pursue timeless values. Instead of feeding the frenzy, they create calm. Instead of surrendering to the crowd, they hold their sovereignty. They shop with purpose, live with intention, and choose quality over quantity. They resist the pull of impulse because their spirit demands alignment over excess. And as they walk away from these battlegrounds of material frenzy, they reclaim their power, the power to choose what nourishes rather than drains, to protect their energy rather than scatter it. This is the final test of the chosen one's discernment. Can they resist the pull of the chaotic crowd and stay anchored in their truth? Can they be the calm in the storm rather than part of the tempest? If you've felt this pull to avoid the frenzy, to step away from the madness, know that you are not alone. You are aligned with a deeper current of awakening, a call to live differently, to rise above the noise. If this message resonates with your spirit, join us on this journey. Subscribe to Chill, Then Conquer, where we explore the path of the chosen, those who refuse to settle for the ordinary and dare to live the extraordinary. Together, we will continue to uncover the power of discernment, sovereignty, and awakening. We will walk this path side by side, rising higher with every step. Until next time, protect your energy, trust your intuition, and keep conquering your inner world. Welcome home, warrior. The journey has only just begun.